Hey everybody, what's going on? Dace here and welcome back. Today we're jumping into the third episode of the Psikyo series we started recently. It's an opportunity to explore and appreciate these action-packed thrill rides for those who enjoy the games or those unfamiliar with them. This time around we're looking at Sengoku Ace Tengai Episode 1, also known as Samurai Aces, which hit the arcades in 1993. I'll share a little about the game and then get into some of my experiences clearing the normal, hard, and very hard modes, which may be helpful if you're jumping in for the first time or returning to bang out a clear on a harder difficulty. For clarity, this is not a guide video for clearing the first loop, as I made one a couple of years ago, and I will include the link to that video in the description for those interested. This is more about bringing greater awareness to how harder modes often go untouched because they can intimidate players. But in some situations, as we'll get into, this is yet another illusion you create for yourself. I trust you will enjoy the video. Before we get into the action, I want to highlight that Sengoku Ace was Psikyo's first arcade shooter and the company's first title. You might think they banged out a solid shoot-'em-up on their first attempt, and I could understand why, since they nailed creating unique and varied characters, fun gameplay based on simple yet engaging mechanics, and a decent serving of challenge and pressure to keep things interesting. But the truth is, the game's development was guided by experienced hands. Sengoku Ace was designed by none other than Shinsuke Nakamura, the creator of Aero Fighters or Sonic Wings, which it was also called, and the founder of Psikyo itself. It's fascinating to see the similarities between the two series and the ways in which Aero Fighters clearly influenced Sengoku Ace. As much as I would love to get into that now, I will hold off because I plan on covering the Aero Fighters games after we wrap up this Psikyo series. I'm very excited for that. As you might expect, we have some form of stage randomization like we see in the later Psikyo titles. In Sengoku Ace specifically, the first 3 stages are randomly selected from a pool of 4. Those are the Waterfall Forest, the Train Station Village, the Sacred River, and the Fossil Field Fortress. That's simply how I'm describing them. After that, these stages follow a specific order leading us through the clouds to a floating stronghold where we battle our way through various sections overloaded with deadly enemies and bosses. Out of all the stages, my favorite has always been the river, giving me a strong mystical sense. It sparks my imagination with a unique mix of tranquility and danger, inspiring the idea that you wouldn't want to absent-mindedly slip into this river for a swim, let alone fall in. While the cold stones appear to rest peacefully and silently below the water's surface, the carved Buddha-like faces now hide something sinister. It's not that the stones could cause physical harm, but plunging yourself into the cool, calm depths would be to plunge your very mind into a space rampant with spirits lying in wait, eager to disorient and ultimately claim your life. The boss of this stage is also one of the coolest, with various components to destroy, and as you do, the truth of this machine is revealed. Before us we have a guardian vessel that appears to be a machine creature hybrid powered by some form of evil spirit. This time we have animated stone faces, and it's this animated form that hints at the malevolent nature of the stones lining the riverbed. Even if the faces of the river are neutral, I feel an evil presence still uses them. They exist in torment and helplessness, plucked one by one to be crafted into these living mechanical monstrosities when a dark purpose requires it. Given the plot partly revolves around an evil cult intending to sacrifice Princess Tsukihime to resurrect their demon god, it's not a far stretch to imagine the influence over these stones is so great that they have surrendered and since become corrupted. Perhaps they were once sacred and benevolent, carved out of reverence, but unless this sort of obscure information surfaces, we may never know. In any event, this boss and some of the others give us clues as to what type of beings we'll encounter before long. One thing I enjoy about Sengoku Ace is how much they squeezed into this game. We get a boatload of stages, mid-stage ninja encounters, sections brimming with hectic enemy gunfire, and the imposing stage-end boss fights. All this blazing action and intensity is crammed into the first loop, which can be cleared in less than 12 minutes. It's definitely one of the shortest arcade shooters I've played, and while I feel it is one of Psikyo's easiest, it can still throw a lot your way, especially if you're unprepared and lack knowledge of what will unfold. If you clear the first loop, the second loop will certainly dish out much more for you to deal with. But like other Psikyo titles, we get a lot to work with. Each character has a normal shot, charge shot, bombs, and special projectiles that fire alongside the standard shot once you begin collecting power-ups. Unlike the charge shots you can do in something like Strikers 1945, the ones found in Sengoku Ace do not revolve around collecting and maintaining options, let alone placing them strategically throughout the run. While the charge shots we have at our disposal here are mostly ones that fire some type of large specialized projectile or group of projectiles, there is one character that allows us to place something on the screen. Keno Maru is a super genius dog that flies a high-tech jet. This aircraft is equipped with a charge shot that drops a series of spinning blades in a shield-like formation. These blades damage enemies that come into contact with them and eliminate enemy projectiles. I haven't experimented much with Keno Maru, but the routing potential with a character like this is full of possibilities. But no matter which character you zero in on, you're in for an exciting ride from start to finish. Now I'd like to touch on the topic I mentioned at the start of the video, the illusion that makes a harder mode feel like it will be more daunting. More often than not, harder modes will be far more demanding, sometimes requiring entirely different routing, strategies, or even a skill or experience level the player needs to reach just to operate within that new environment. Yet there are some games that create this idea more than they back it up with actual substance, and in my experience, Sengoku Ace is one of those titles. When I cleared Loop 1 on normal difficulty for the first time, I was one hit away from losing the run and only had one bomb remaining. It wasn't very clean playing, but given the complete lack of training tools on the Switch port, the run went as it did due to limited learning. Either way, with how the run ended, I could have easily viewed hard mode as something that would be significantly more challenging. But I loved Sengoku Ace. I was having a blast with it, and in general, I'm not one to steer away from increased difficulty. For me, taking that next step is a natural part of experiencing a game more fully. But I know that for many it will be a different journey. If you barely scrape by on normal mode, I can understand if your initial thought is that anything beyond that will simply throw too much at you. But the whole point of including this topic is to show that you can likely accomplish much more than you might give yourself credit for. All you need to do is push a little further. For instance, I use the same routing and approach for clearing normal, hard, and very hard. Many games won't allow this based on their design, but I found it feasible in Sengoku Ace. So if you've ever wanted to bang out something harder but decided against it because it felt intimidating, you may be holding yourself back for no reason. While the beginning stages may feel more intense initially for one reason or another, this may simply be because you're adjusting to the new conditions, not because it's actually going to be an obstacle once you're familiar with the new framework. I'm reminded of Gray's Counter GM, which includes a standard mode and unlimited mode. Within each of those modes you have novice, original, hard, and extreme. I did every combination except for the novice modes, and for every single one of those clears, even unlimited extreme, I just played the same way and did the same things I had done on standard original. The only difference was that unlimited hard and unlimited extreme both put up the illusion that things would be much more challenging. When I first jumped into the hardest difficulty, I immediately noticed that stage 1 appeared to be nothing but bullets. Since I wanted to finish the first stage without taking a hit, this took a handful of attempts before I pulled through, and I thought that if stage 1 was like this, what would the rest of the run throw at me? But after adjusting to the greater intensity in stage 1 and making it through that first boss fight, it was literally smooth sailing all the way through to the end of the run. Nothing else in the later stages required some different approach or increased skills, nothing like that. Again, I could have stopped myself because of the initial impression I got from the first stage, but by meeting the challenge head on, that illusion very quickly dissipated, and I'm glad I didn't hold back. I also did the extra stage and boss rush on Unlimited Extreme, and those are both a blast, so if you like the look of this game and haven't checked it out yet, it may be something you enjoy playing. In any event, I'd like this episode to serve as a helpful reminder that increased difficulty is not always what it appears to be. There are plenty of opportunities for you to use what you already know to accomplish things beyond a normal mode clear. You just need that willingness to push deeper and see where things truly stand. That brings this video to a close. Let me know if you have any Psikyo titles you'd like to get at in the near future. Thanks to everyone who stuck around until the end, and a huge thanks to our monthly supporters. Your support and contributions are greatly appreciated, and I've got exciting things lined up for those individuals. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all next time. Take care.